it is time to review a video game where you can be greater and be yourself.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So, it's time for a video game review today. And in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing what, of course, is a video game spin-off sequel to my favourite superhero game of all time, which for all of you who don't know, of course, is 2018's Marvel's Spider-Man. And this is a spin-off released 2 years later, which focuses on another incarnation of Spider-Man, of course. And that character, of course, is Miles Morales himself. And that game, of course, is none other than 2020's Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales. So, now, how was this game made then? And so this game, of course, was developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment for the consoles being PS4 and PS5. And it was, of course, made following, of course, the success of 2018's Marvel's Spider-Man, which, in my opinion, is an absolute masterpiece, my favourite superhero game of all time. And when it comes, of course, to the game's release, it was intended to be released, of course, as a launch title for a PS5. And it was officially revealed in June 2020. And it launched that November for both PS4 and PS5 on November 12th worldwide for them, and November 19th worldwide for PS5. And then 2 years later, November 18th, it was released on Windows worldwide. And when it comes to how, of course, the game was received, it received generally positive reviews from critics with praise for its combat, narrative, content, and technical improvements on the PS5 version, while it faced some criticism over its short length. When it comes to my reaction to this game then, so when I first got my PS4 in 2022, in October of that year, the first games I got were Spider-Man games at the time, being Marvel's Spider-Man and Miles Morales. And after I finished on Platinum Spider-Man, I then moved on to, of course, playing this game. And I played this and I finished it. And when it comes to my opinion on the game, I'll be honest and say that in my opinion, it's good, in my opinion, but do I think it's as good as Marvel's Spider-Man? No, not in my opinion, but it's still, in my opinion, a good game nonetheless. So what is the game about then? So the game focuses on Miles' struggle to balance the duties of his civilian persona and his role as the second Spider-Man when his new home, Harlem, is threatened by a war between the Roxxon Energy Corporation and a high-tech criminal army called the Underground, led by a mysterious Tinkerer. So when it comes, of course, to what I think is good about this game then, so when it comes, of course, to how it is compared to Spider-Man from 2018, the gameplay is fairly similar in that regard, because it is, of course, a third-person perspective game where, of course, you web-swing around New York City as, of course, Spider-Man, but this time, of course, you play as Miles Morales in this game. And the good things, in my opinion, is definitely, for me, with graphics. I think the graphics in the game are really great, in my opinion. And I like how they did something new with New York, because this time, of course, the game takes place at Christmas time, and the city is experiencing heavy snowfall. So, throughout playing the game, of course, it's snowing, and I think that's definitely a new change of things, really. And the graphics, definitely, in my opinion, were fantastic once again, especially on the PS5 version as well, in particular. And definitely look really great in terms of visual quality. And in terms of gameplay standards, while it brought back, of course, the typical web-swinging abilities from the previous game into this game, it's also did something new with Miles, in which it gave him new abilities which were not in the first game when it comes to Peter Parker Spider-Man. And that, of course, was his Venom abilities, which in my opinion was a nice touch and a very good addition to the game, in my opinion. I definitely really like that. The game also has a really great voice cast as well, so Nigel Jett, of course, reprises his role from the first game as Miles, and I think he did a really good job in this game, and he's definitely my second favourite Miles after Shameik Moore from the Spider-Verse movies. And the other cast members, in my opinion, are also really good as well. And if you guys are also wondering about Peter Parker's Spider, who I just mentioned, he does appear in the game, guys, but unfortunately briefly, because throughout the game, he leaves New York, of course, on a trip. So sadly, of course, he's not in the game completely. He's only in at the beginning, on the first mission of the game. Then throughout the game, of course, he contacts Miles, of course, via calls. Then he appears at the end of the game when he returns home. But Hugh Lenville, of course, does reprise his role, and he still gives a great performance as he always has done as Spider-Man in the game, despite not appearing in the game that much, sadly. And when it comes as well to the game's villains, some of them of course do return from the first game in some roles. For example, Rhino, voiced by Fred Tatasciore. There's also cameo appearance by Kingpin, when you see him on a prison video message, voiced once again by Travis Willingham. And many others too as well. There's even, when it comes to Dr. Octopus, he also appears in a flashback, which is pretty cool. William Saylor reprising his role in that flashback. And there's other great characters in this too as well. For example, Miles' uncle, Aaron Davis, who of course has become Prowler, the mercenary, who's voiced by Ike Armadi, who did a really good job playing Prowler in this game. And everyone else was also good too, what we're given in my opinion too, as well. And even though I didn't like how they characterised Tinkerer in this game, I think that Jasmine Savoy Brown did a very good job playing Tinkerer in this game, for me. I think she did a very good job what she was given, but I think she could have done a better direction in my opinion. And other great things about this game for me is also as well the musical score. It's composed once again by John Pisano, who composed the first game. And what I like about his soundtrack of this game is I like how he did something new for Miles, in which they made his music be more retro and electro style. And I really like that touch really, because I think the music he composed fit Miles really well, especially his theme song. In my opinion, it's very catchy, and it definitely fits Miles as a character in my opinion. Great to listen to. Especially when you're web swinging through a city as well. Definitely lots of fun. And I'll also say, when it comes to the side activities in the game, unfortunately, there's not much compared to the first game, sadly, but they are, in my opinion, pretty fun. For example, of course, taking down enemy bases, which belong to Tinkerer. And there's also, as well, training missions you can also do with an AI version of Peter Parker training you, which is definitely really good. And I will say that much better than the one in the first game, in my opinion, because those of them I thought pretty hard, to be completely honest. That's what I'll say, really. And it's mainly because of like issues I had when it comes to, of course, who was in charge of them, which of course was Screwball. Because Screwball, in my opinion, is a very annoying character. Screw her. But in this game, of course, Peter Parker being a trainer was, in my opinion, much better and less insufferable, because he thankfully, of course, keeps more of their mouths to keep going. It's very sad how a computer version of a character is more better than an actual character being Screwball, isn't it? That's really sad. So I found those training missions thankfully easy to do, in my opinion, from my experience. And also, as well, when it comes to going about the game as well, I think it has a really cool set of suits you can also wear, because there's a variety of suits you can unlock in the game. And I had to, of course, unlock my all-time favourite suit for Miles, which is definitely his suit from Into the Spider-Verse, because it's in this game as an unlockable suit, and as soon as I unlocked it, I had it on for the rest of the game. Definitely my favourite costume for Miles, absolutely. I mean, his default suit is good in my opinion too, but I personally think his Spider suit is the best one. I'll be completely honest about that. That's what I'll say. And there's also lots of new abilities you can unlock on a skill tree as well, which is really cool, so I definitely like that. So there's plenty of things you can do again despite it being very short. And other great quality of this game is also how it pays tribute to two legends who we unfortunately lost. So one of them, of course, is the absolute legend Stan Lee, because he unfortunately, of course, passed away in November 2018 after the first game released. And in this game, it features a statue of his cameo character from the first game being Mick, the short order cook, at a restaurant he worked at. You can actually find the statue in the game of a restaurant, and it has a very nice message on it, of course, paying tribute to Stan Lee, which I really appreciated. And there's also a street in the game which is named Boseman Street, which of course is a very lovely tribute to the legendary Chadwick Boseman, who we lost way too soon as well in that year 2020. So I love having paid tribute to him, of course, in that as well. So rest in peace to Stan Lee and Chadwick Boseman. Rest in peace to both of them. However, now we get to the game's bad quarters I have with it. So now what I'll say is, despite this game being a separate game, not like a DLC for a first game, I feel that, in my opinion, it was way too short compared to the first game, sadly. Despite being a separate game, the campaign, in my opinion, just went way too quickly. And it didn't even help, there wasn't much to do in open world either, compared to the first game, there was lots to do in it, unfortunately. There's barely anything in this game, sadly, to do, which is a big shame. I mean, the activities are good, like the training missions with Peter Parker's AI helping you, but that's what it really was, not really much else to do, sadly. So I feel this game, in my opinion, was way too short. It could have probably been a lot better, in my opinion, if it had more to do in it, really, to be completely honest. And just feel there wasn't much to do. And when it comes to Tinkerer, the reason why I'm not a fan of the characterization of Tinkerer in this game is I really do not like how they gender swap a character into a female version of a character. I personally did not like that, because that's not a character at all. It's a big shame, really, how we had to do that to Tinkerer. Like, come on. Also, when it comes as well to Peter Parker in this game, not only, of course, is he hard in the game, I also really hated how even on the PS4 version, he's got the redesign from the remaster of the PS5 version of Spider-Man. which I'm personally not a fan of, because in my opinion, the first game's design was much better. So I didn't like, even on PS4 version, they had to change the design of Peter Parker's face. I'm not a fan of that. Like, that's the reason why I got the PS4 version of Spider-Man, you know, a couple of years ago, not the PS5 version, because I'm not a fan of the new face model. In addition to that, the game also has a few glitches in it, unfortunately. For example, sometimes the game would freeze when the game was loading before it was supposed to continue, and that really annoyed me because I had to restart the game a few times because of that. That was definitely a big pain for me, but thankfully I got through the game and completed it, but especially because it was short, unfortunately. And another issue also I have with the game is also when it comes to the open world, because there's one particular skyscraper in the game which is removed, and that's unfortunately the Chrysler Building. It's one of my favourite skyscrapers in New York City of all time. But for some reason in this game, it's gone. And I don't know why it is. I believe it's due to licensing issues. But here's the thing. Because at the same time this game released, they also released the PS5 remaster of Spider-Man, the first game. And the Chrysler Building was in that. So why is it not in this game? I don't get it at all. And sadly, this issue carried over to Spider-Man 2 because it wasn't in that either, unfortunately, which absolutely sucks. So, while I love returning New York in this game, the same map from the first game, just with snow this time and Christmas themed stuff, I did not like how I got to the Chrysler Building. That, in my opinion, was a big mistake. Because I think it's one of the most iconic skyscrapers in New York, which makes it a recognisable skyline. And getting rid of it like that was a bad move, in my opinion. Really bad. And also, when it comes to this game's Platinum Trophy as well, the reason why I've not got its Platinum when I played it compared to Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 is because you've got to do New Game Plus to get the Platinum Trophy, because when you do New Game Plus, you unlock, of course, new suits and new abilities you can't get on your first playthrough. You've got to do it again from scratch, basically. So, that really annoyed me how I couldn't platinum the game on a first-time playthrough, and I don't see a point in playing it again, really, because like I said, guys, I'm not a fan of how this game is so short, and there's not much to do in it, so I don't see a point, really, to be honest. So, I don't plan to revisit it anytime soon for its platinum because of that, really, to be completely honest. I think it's a bit of a letdown, really, when it comes to that. So, overall, guys, I still think the Miles Morales game is decent, in my opinion, but compared to the first Spider-Man game, it's no near as good in comparison, to be completely honest. I mean, there are some new things introduced that I did like, but some things I didn't really like, unfortunately. So, if I was to give this game a score out of 10, because I thought it was decent, I'd probably give it a very solid score of 7 out of 10. That's what I'd give it. I just think it's decent, in my opinion, at best. Not the best. Absolutely not. That's what I'd give it. So guys, this is me, of course, doing my review for 2020's Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let in the comments what you guys thought of this game. If you played it, anything comments below or what you thought of it. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe to come in the future. And with great power comes great responsibility.